welcome Tarek Alferis, who is our World Beyond War chapter coordinator for Libya. And Tarek will be the moderator for today, day one of World Beyond War's Africa Peace Conference. So welcome and please kick us off.
Okay, thank you, Greta, and welcome to, to the World Beyond War Africa Conference 2025. So my name is Tariq Al-Faris. I am from Libya, and I am happy to be your moderator today. So thank you for joining us from many countries. I see in the chat box across Africa and the world. So today we will listen to important speakers. We will talk about peace, justice, Africa, and how to build a better future for us. So I hope this conference will help us together to learn from each other and share ideas and work together. So thank you again for being here. So our first speaker is Dr. Irene. So she is World Beyond War board member. So Dr. Irene, you may begin.
Thank you, everyone. Greetings to you wherever you are at the moment. Yeah, distinguished guest, my fellow member of World Beyond War, esteemed guest speakers, fellow advocates for peace, ladies and gentlemen. We gather virtually today at a critical moment in our history, where the legacy of Western imperialism continue to shape the destiny of our beloved continent, Africa. And resources and diverse culture, cause has been ravaged by war, conflict, exploitations for centuries, terrorism, and the likes. The theme of our conference is Western imperialism and wars in Africa. The theme is a timely reminder of the historical and ongoing impact of foreign domination on our continent, Africa. From the transatlantic slave trade to colonialism, and from Cold War, proxy wars to contemporary resources extraction, Africa has been a battleground for external powers. Today, we come together virtually to examine the roots of these conflicts, to share our experiences, and to forge new paths towards peace, justice, and self-determination. We recognize that the struggle of our ancestors and the injustice of the past continue to shape our present and future. As we embark on this journey, let us acknowledge the resilience and agency of African communities who have always found ways to resist, adapt, and thrive despite the odds. Let us also acknowledge the complicity of external powers in perpetuating conflicts and instability. Throughout this conference, we hope to engage in critical discussions, share innovative strategies, and build solidarity with one another. We hope to explore ways to challenge the system of oppression and to promote a culture of peace, non-violence, and cooperation. Together, let us work towards a future where Africa is free from the shackle of imperialism, where our resources are harnessed for the benefits of all Africa, and where our people can live in peace, dignity, and terrorism. Where our people can live in peace, dignity, and prosperity. At this point, I want to welcome the World Beyond War Africa Conference. Let us march towards brighter future together and collectively work to subdue the evil of terrorism and violence that presently bedevil the Africa continent. Together, we shall succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Irene, for your words, for your speech. So thank you so much. Now we welcome Norbert is from Uganda to speak about the growth of World Beyond War in Africa. So Norberto, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Greetings to each and every person, and thank you for sharing the screen. My name is Norbert. So today, we are going to talk, or I'm going to present about the growth of the World Beyond War movements in Africa. So the first slide shows how here in Isingiro, an archival chapter of War Beyond War in Uganda, how it does its work. So thank you. We may go to another slide, the second one. So World Beyond War in Africa, I'm Norbert, the coordinator of Isingiro Nakival chapter of World Beyond War in Uganda. Our chapter started this year, and we focus on empowering refugee youth and the children through education, talent, development, and non-violent activism. We are proud to be part of the movement and contribute to its growth in Africa. So the third, the first Africa chapter was launched in Cameroon in 2022. Today we have 17 chapters in these countries: Burundi, Nigeria, Senegal, Mali, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Zimbabwe, Democratic Republic of Congo, Togo, Gambia, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Ghana, Libya, Burkina Faso. My chapter is Singiro Nakival, Uganda, and Malawi. We have a dozen affiliated organizations. The next slide. The growth, or let me say, the rapid growth in Africa. Africa is deeply affected by wars and armed conflict, yet rich in peace leadership. May we go to the next slide? Yeah, that is it. This makes World Beyond Wars mission resonates strongly in the continent. Beyond shared experience of violence and armed conflict, our growth is driven by a strong youth engagement, the desire for non-violent alternatives, and a supportive cross-country collaboration within the World Beyond War Africa network. The next slide. So here you can see the pictures, how our coordinators and the members, how they are on the street. The first one, I am not an agent of war. En français, notre diversité, notre force, non-violence, social cohesion, and so forth. These are areas of chapters work. The next slide. Peace education and community training. Chapters of Burundi, Cameroon, South Kivu, Malawi, Isingiro na Kivu in Uganda, Zimbabwe work on initiatives such as, we may go to the next slide, please. Workshops for youth on peace building, social media responsibility, non-violent activism. Peace clubs programs in schools and the communities. Trainings for displaced people, refugees, women leaders, and the local peace influencers. Awareness raising on the human impacts of war. We can go to the next slide. Anti-militarism and advocacy for disarmament. Chapters of Nigeria, Libya, Mali, Senegal, Gambia are engaged in public education on the arms proliferation, community dialogues on militarism, on militarization and insecurity, advocacy for demilitarization policies, education and awareness campaigns on small arms and the light weapons. The next slide. Humanitarian engagements and community cohesion. Examples from Uganda, Mali, Cameroon, Gambia, and Democratic Republic of Congo. Support to internally displaced persons and refugees. Reintegration initiatives for affected youth. Community cohesion project promoting dialogue and reconciliation. The next slide. Where it is written, regional campaigns and the solidarity actions. The next slide, please. African chapters initiated campaigns that are supported by others. For instance, Ends of Sudan, mobilizing African and the global voices to stop the war in Sudan. Stand with Congo, raising awareness on exploitation, violence, and foreign interference in Democratic Republic of Congo. Close foreign military bases in Africa, advancing sovereignty and peace, and deadly violence in Cameroon, supporting peaceful solutions to the escalating post-election crisis. The next slide, please. So the next slide says our next steps for a peaceful Africa. Expand chapters and affiliates to more African countries. We have pros- prospective chapters and expect that each of the 54 African countries will hopefully host a chapter or affiliates. Strengthen chapter capacity through training and mentorship. Develop stronger regional advocacy campaigns. Grow African leaders in the global peace movement. The next slide, which is the last. So that's a world beyond war chapter in your area. If you are really interested in creating a chapter, please write to us at chapter arrobas worldbeyondwar.org to get started. Thank you. This is Norbert Biamanda. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Norbert. This is amazing presentation. We so happy to see the great job and the work that the African chapter doing. We hope to see more. So now next we go to Guy. Guy will speak about the work of the World Beyond War African chapter, and he will mention or talk about the closure of foreign military bases in Africa and self determination of the people in Africa. So, Guy, please go ahead. I think he will speak in French. So, turn the language if you need it.
Ok, merci Tariq. Bonsoir à tout le monde et bienvenue à cette conférence. Comme Norbert l'a mentionné dans sa présentation tantôt, il y a un volet du travail des chapitres africains sur la fermeture des bases militaires.
So we are here
Donc,
to
le
talk
travail
about
que
the
les
work of
chapitres font
closing
est
different
fait,
military bases
un
in Africa.
aperçu sur ce que les chapitres font. Slide. Alors, d'emblée, je dirais pour besoin d'information qu'une base est une installation ou un site qui
So
héberge
what
des
is a
personnels
military base? A
militaires,
military base is an
des systèmes
installation
d'armes
or
ou des
a
infrastructures
site
logistiques
which
spécialisées pour la formation,
have military
la collecte
personnel,
d'informations, la
different
planification
system
des
of
opérations,
different war
le commandement et le
materials,
contrôle des
infrastructure and
actions
logistics,
administratives,
which are used for
et
training,
évidemment aussi le
for
stockage
collecting
d'armes
information, and for
ou
planning some operational
lancement
on the military front.
d'attaque. Alors, quand ce dispositif se trouve en terre étrangère, nous l'appelons une base étrangère.
When we see this military bases
Pour
in
notre
foreign land, it means that it's not normally
exposé
for
à ce
peace.
jour. Slide. Alors, où est-ce qu'on
So
trouve des bases militaires en Afrique? Nous allons voir des pays
which
étrangers
countries
qui
have
ont des
military
bases
bases in Africa?
militaires en
So
Afrique.
as we can
Donc,
see on
il y a
our
plusieurs
screen,
puissances
United
mondiales qui
States
maintiennent
has
des bases militaires
49,
en Afrique, soit de
49
manière
military bases in
permanente
Africa.
ou par
Turkey
le
has
biais
3
de la
military bases
présence
in Africa.
temporaire. Donc,
United
les
Kingdom
textes
has 14,
officiels qui
India
sont
has
censés
4,
sont
United
que
Arab
ces
Emirates
bases
has 6,
servent
Canada has
à
1,
repousser les
Russia
terroristes,
has 1,
à
Italy has
assurer
1,
la
and
sécurité
Singapore also has
maritime, à
1
former
military
les
base in
soldats
Africa.
et à assurer la logistique humanitaire. Donc, les États-Unis, en l'occurrence, possèdent le plus grand empire militaire au monde et sont également présents presque partout en Afrique. Les bases militaires américaines en
So as
Afrique
we can
sont
see,
gérées
the world
par la
powers
FECO,
almost have
qui
different
appuie
military
le
bases in
commandement
Africa. As you can
militaire
see on the map,
américain en Afrique.
the
Donc,
military bases are
les
spread
puissances
all over the
étrangères
continent, from the
disposent
south
de
to the
bases
east
en Afrique.
to the west.
Nous avons par exemple le Royaume-Uni, nous avons les Émirats arabes unis, nous avons l'Italie, la Turquie, l'Inde, le Canada et même Singapour. La Russie est également en train de forger des alliances militaires
As you can see,
vont
United States has a lot
se
of military bases
concrétiser
here.
via la création
United Kingdom also has military bases, and as you can see, Russia is also gradually trying to increase their military bases in Africa.
Slide. Alors, les pays africains, nous avons une trentaine de pays africains qui abritent
Where
des...
can we find the military bases in Africa?
Donc, nous avons plus de la moitié des pays africains. Sur 54 pays, nous avons plus de
So as we can see, we have
où nous
almost about
trouvons
half
des bases
of the African nations
et
having military
même
bases which belong
la
to foreign
Somalie est
nations.
le pays qui a le plus de bases militaires étrangères.
Somalia is the
Alors, il y a
nation which
d'autres
has a
pays
lot
qui
of military
abritent
bases in it.
pays comme la Libye, le Tchad, le Cameroun,
Libya also has military bases.
Ouganda.
Chad also has military bases.
Je mentionne également Seychelles qui ont un nombre considérable de bases militaires. En Somalie,
Seychelles also
il y
has
en a
military
jusqu'à
bases in Africa,
14.
military bases which belongs to foreign powers.
Slide. OK. Donc, loin de maintenir la paix et d'assurer la sécurité de la population comme ces pays le proclament, la présence militaire
As you
étrangère
can see,
renforce
those military
plutôt
bases are not
les
necessarily in
pouvoir.
Africa in order
Les
to
bases militaires
promote peace,
consolident
but they are rather here to
les
support
régimes
bad
autoritaires
governance.
et leur
So as you
conférer
can see, they are
une
here to
légitimité.
reinforce
Le
authoritarian
Cameroun
government
est un
to
exemple de ce pays
continue
africain dont
being
le
authoritative
gouvernement
and continue
utilise
controlling their
l'armée
people
pour se maintenir au
illegally.
pouvoir
They are
afin
here
de
to
passer,
legitimize
comme
dictators
nous
and
savons,
permit those
cette année,
dictators to be in power for years.
43
And
années
they are
sans
here
passer au pouvoir
in
sans
one way or the other
soutien
to help repress
militaire.
the citizens
Donc,
of that particular country
la
that they
coopération
have the military bases in
étrangère
it.
et les bases militaires assurent la suivi de régimes dictatoriaux qui sont déguisés en démocratie et accentuent la répression des citoyens
And
qui
as you can
sont
see,
manipulés
these
par la
military bases are
population.
not necessarily
Donc,
here in
président
order for them to help
tantôt, la
us
campagne que nous
promote
avons fait pour
democracy.
établir
Rather, they are
le
here
Cameroun, c'est suite à
in one way or the
l'élection
other to
qui
support dictators and
les
anything that's
bases
contrary to
et le
democracy.
gouvernement en place utilisait justement l'armée pour repousser violemment les manifestants. On compte de nombreux morts dans cette
For example, in
période
Cameroon, there is some
post-électorale.
disturbances and some
Donc, les bases
ongoing
militaires
riots and
africaines
demonstrations
également sont
going on. And the
situées
government is using the
dans bon
military
nombre
to push
de
those people who are
pays
legitimately demonstrating
sous-répressifs
away.
où ces bases soutiennent les gouvernements abusifs, comme par exemple le gouvernement du Bahreïn, de l'Égypte, de l'Irak, d'Israël, et même de la Jordanie. Voilà, donc
As
des
you can
États
see, these
comme
military bases, they are always there to support the
les
oppressors
Émirats arabes
against those who are being
unis, entre
oppressed.
autres. Slide. Ok. Voilà, je parlais tantôt
So whenever we see this
d'impérialisme et
military
j'ai dit
base,
que
it's a
l'image
sign of an
de
extension of
l'impérialisme,
colonialism.
euh, je l'ai prise sur la
So
magie
whenever the
de
military bases
l'ambassade
are here, whenever the foreign military
américaine
bases are in
au Cameroun,
Africa,
qui montre un voyage
it's a form
officiel
of
du
them telling that, oh,
président
we are still
dans
colonizing you.
l'extrême nord du
That means
Cameroun,
you have left, but we
où
are
il a
still here.
dirigé le bataillon d'intervention rapide
African nations
dans la
still
localité de
depend
Mokowa,
on foreign
où il y a
military
des bases
power.
militaires américaines. Et
And
les
as we
États
can see
disposent
recently,
de deux
there are
bases
countries which have
à cette
started
localité. Donc, les
resisting
bases
that.
étrangères
For example,
contribuent
Burkina
à
Faso,
perpétuer le
Mali, Niger,
néocolonialisme.
and Chad. They
Les
don't want
puissances
the foreign
étrangères
military bases to
continuent
be based in their
d'exercer
country anymore.
leur
So they are now
influence.
resisting those
Donc, la
powers.
légitimité et la souveraineté des pays africains sont constamment remises en question en raison
So
de
whenever we
leur
see these military
capacité à
bases,
agir
then
et à prendre
the
des
liberty of
décisions
those
sans
nations are
l'intervention
put
de
in question.
puissances
Why
étrangères
is a
qui
nation
détiennent
independent,
cette force
free, but
militaire.
still has military
Le
bases of
but,
other
c'est
countries in
plus
it?
le ressentiment populaire et la rhétorique anti-impérialiste prennent de l'ampleur en Afrique et
As we
rejettent
can
le plan
see, the
colonial, comme c'est également le
anti-imperialism
cas dans
is
les pays
growing
du
and
Sahel, en Afrique
is
de l'Ouest.
going higher
C'est le
in
cas
Africa
du
these last
Burkina
days.
Faso, du Mali, du Niger
As we can see,
et de la
Burkina
Suisse.
Faso, they have started anti-imperialism, Mali, Niger, and Chad.
Slide suivant. OK. L'Afrique est le théâtre de conflits armés qui, depuis des décennies, déciment les populations au Soudan, en République démocratique du Congo, en Somalie, en Libye, au Tchad, au
As you
Cameroun,
can
en
see, these
République
military bases,
centrafricaine, en Côte
actually, they are
d'Ivoire, au
here to
Mali,
facilitate
au Burkina
conflict.
Faso.
So as you can see, armed conflict persists in Africa, Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, Libya, Chad, Central African Republic, Mali, Burkina Faso. And although these military bases are in this country, but these things continue to persist.
Comme dans le cas de la guerre au Soudan, où la Russie et l'Ukraine ont étendu leur rivalité. Donc, selon un rapport du Centre d'études stratégiques pour l'Afrique du Pentagone, donc, le nombre d'Africains tués par les terroristes a bondi de 100 000% au...
So as you can see, according to a report by the Pentagon, the number of Africans who are killed by terrorism is over 100,000 people.
Sont arrivés sur notre continent, soi-disant pour apporter la paix et la stabilité. Et en 2023,
and as you can see, these things started when these foreign military bases started coming to Africa. Then terrorism in one way or the other started also rising up.
Avec 23 322 morts contre 19 412 morts en 2022. Donc, comparons ce chiffre aux 23 morts imputés au terrorisme en 2022 et 2023. Donc, les deux principaux théâtres d'opération des États-Unis, donc la Corne de l'Afrique et le Sahel, ont connu une forte augmentation.
So as you can see, Africa seems to be a theater where these foreign bases, military bases tend to exercise and then try to experiment with many things.
Au contraire, aide à accentuer les conflits. Slide.
And as you can see, they normally say we are here for peace, but actually they are not here for peace. They are doing something else.
Les décisions relatives à l'hébergement des bases militaires sont souvent inconnues des citoyens, car comme d'autres questions de sécurité, elles sont souvent considérées comme relevant du domaine, disent-ils, secret défense. Les organisations de la société civile qui s'intéressent à ces questions-là sont au contraire
So as you can see, there is an absence of self-determination of the people.
Des informations au profit de ceux qui les financent.
The decisions concern the military bases, they are not shared with the people. With that facade that, okay, this is a secret, this is a defense secret and we cannot share it. But actually, when these military bases are being established, they go against the people.
Okay, donc les initiatives qui sont prises en Afrique pour demander la fermeture des bases militaires étrangères s'inscrivent dans un...
The different effort that has been made in Africa in order to close this military bases.
Des peuples africains. Donc, grâce à la détermination de certains dirigeants et mouvements populaires, des bases militaires ont été fermées ou des troupes étrangères ont été retirées.
Thanks to some people and some soldiers, foreign soldiers and foreign military bases have been lifted off Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad. And then the different chapters of World Beyond War are currently working on campaigns in order to close military bases in Djibouti and Cameroon.
Conformément à la volonté politique et au soutien populaire. Donc, les chapitres africains de World Beyond War, notamment au Sénégal, au Mali, au Cameroun, mènent des campagnes pour la fermeture des bases en Afrique. Certains pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest ont ainsi réussi à réduire la présence militaire étrangère.
So as you can see, since our people are still into the campaign, some countries in West Africa have been able to sack away or send away these military bases.
Nous avons toutes ces données et des outils, nous avons
so you can visit our website to have an overview on what we are doing, the different campaigns, and their impact.
Des images, bref, tout ce qui est utile pour documenter ce travail de recherche que nous faisons. Donc, je vous remercie.
And as you can see, our research work, we are working on it tirelessly, and you can visit our website to have these details. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Guy, for your clear and important presentation. You shared the strong points about the work of what we are doing in Africa, and we appreciate your presentation. And we will now continue with next part. Okay, for the keynote speaker, Dr. Sheila, you may begin if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Tariq.
Okay, you can.
Donc, nous allons écouter l'allocation keynote qui sera faite par Dr. Sheila.
Oh, we're hearing the French and the English channel, Samuel. You'll have to switch channels.
Just a moment. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we
Thank
can.
you.
Perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends of Africa, and fellow Africans, I'm very excited and thankful to be with you today in this virtual space. I was asked to talk about Western imperialism, history, and current developments in Africa. And when I was thinking about this topic, I actually sort of coached the title differently. I thought I should talk about imperialism rebranded and Africa's unfinished struggle for sovereignty. So Western imperialism, as my colleagues have already mentioned in the past speeches, is still in existence. It did not end with the lowering of colonial flags during independence. In fact, it simply changed its costume from what we saw in colonial times to today, what we see in terms of the military bases that Guy has just talked about. We see it in boardrooms when development discussions are taking place. So I want to invite us to confront this rather uncomfortable truth. Africa today remains shackled not by chains of iron, but by contracts, by debt and dependency. And yes, we must also confront our own complicity in Africa in perpetuating this subjugation. So going back to the colonial wound that never healed, we see in 1885, 84, 85, the Western powers carving up Africa at the Berlin Conference. At the time, we see colonial powers taking away Africa's land, extracting Africa's resources. One of the reasons, for example, they built the railways was to transport resources out of the continent. They erased cultures. They educated Africans, they educated us, not to empower us, but to indoctrinate us. They took away our languages and gave us a new language, which we are currently transacting in. They preached civilization, but they practiced barbarism. In the field I work, which is genocide prevention, they define genocide to exclude all the barbaric acts and human rights violations that occurred during colonial times. And when they left, they did empty-handed. They left with gold, diamonds, labor. They left behind borders designed to divide, not to unite. They left behind constitutions that served their interests, not ours. And then they left behind elites trained to mimic their masters, not to lead their people. So that's what happened in history. But I said today, imperialism wears a suit and speaks in the language of development. The IMF dictates Africa's budgets. The World Bank designs our schools. Aid agencies decide our priorities. Western corporations extract our oil, they mine cobalt, they sell us back our own cocoa at 10 times the price. Let's not forget what Guy has just talked about. Western corporations have private security arrangements that are estimated now to be about 20,000 on the continent, with companies like the Vanna Group, which is now called the Africa Corps, other military companies from the West as well included. Then there is cultural imperialism still going on. Our children know more about Shakespeare than Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Our media glorifies Western lifestyles while mocking African traditions. Our universities, they chase Western accreditation while ignoring indigenous knowledge systems. So imperialism is live today just as it was in colonial times. But let us not pretend that Africa is merely a victim. We have failed ourselves too. We have tolerated corrupt leaders who sell our sovereignty for Swiss bank accounts. We have allowed tribalism and ethnic chauvinism to fracture our unity. We have built fragile democracies that crumble under the weight of stolen elections and silenced dissent. And I say this with a heavy heart currently for what's happening in our continent, with the various elections that we have witnessed, including the recent one in Guinea-Bissau, and the dynamic issues that are taking place following these elections. We, as Africans, have failed to invest in our own people. We have, in fact, sent our brightest minds abroad, and we neglect those who remain. We beg for aid while ignoring the wealth benefits beneath our feet. And perhaps at this point, I might say, just maybe, the pulling out of US aid will make us be alive to the capacity we have to address our own problems. So this year, 2025, the African Union declared reparations a continental priority, not a as charity, but as justice. The Accra Declaration and the AU Reparations Task Force made it very clear that the world owes Africa restitution for slavery, colonialism, and centuries of systemic exploitation. This includes compensation for stolen resources and labor. It also includes debt cancellation and restructuring of the global institutions I mentioned earlier. It also includes the return of cultural artifacts and the restoration of historical truths. What I would like to share with us today is reparations, and the advocacy for reparations is good. However, reparations alone will not save our continent. I want to remember some children of Africa. The ambassador, Arikana Chihombori, who has tirelessly argued that we cannot rise until we decolonize ourselves, we decolonize our minds, our institutions, our policies, and even our education. Reparations have to be paired with self-repair, because if we receive reparations without reforming our internal systems, we simply recycle the same dependency under a new name. And if we reform ourselves while the global system remains unjust, we will still be swimming upstream. So we must do both. We must confront the fragmented regionalism that weakens our collective voice on the global stage. We must confront the mental colonization that leads us to prize Western validation over African innovation. We cannot rise until we decolonize ourselves. So what must we do now? The path forward. One, I've already mentioned decolonizing our minds. Let us teach our African history, our African philosophy, African literature. I am sure we have educators in the house on the virtual space today. Can our curriculum fall back to teaching indigenous knowledge as mandatory subjects or topics of focus in our education system? Number two, we need to demand accountable leadership. And our World Beyond War chapters have engaged in actions that intend to build accountability. Let us have leaders who serve the people, not leaders who serve Paris, London, or Washington. Number three, let us protect our sovereignty. Do no to foreign military bases that Guy presented on. I know it's really difficult, the issue of aid, but perhaps this is a space of self-reflection to see how or what alternatives do we have in our space, the African context, to start building capacities to replace particularly conditional aid. And most importantly, let us unite across borders. War Beyond War Network is one such initiative to unite us. But can we unite also on very many other spaces? Pan-Africanism is not a dream. Currently, Pan-Africanism is a necessity. Our strength lies in solidarity and not in fragmentation. So to conclude my speech, I want to be very clear that the West owes Africa a debt it cannot repay. But Africa, we owe ourselves a future that we must build. It is now our time to reclaim our continent and make it a home, a space beyond war. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chela, for this powerful talk. I think we all need a moment to breathe after that. So many big ideas. I am sure many of us here thinking, wow, we need to hear this again and again to think and discuss. So now let's open the floor for some question. So you can write any question QA, and if we have a time, we can raise your hands and ask Dr. Sheila a question.
Yeah, I think given the number of people, we have 100
Yes.
people right now, so the best is to use the Q&A box and we can read off the questions. And I see a few questions have come in already. Are you seeing those, Tarek?
Yes, we have a question, Carol, for Dr. Sheila. She asked, do foreign companies also have a security forces? Does China have any military security in Africa?
Tariq, would you like me to respond to that?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, yes, the answer is yes. Many foreign companies in Africa employ private security forces. And this may be like different types of security forces. They may range from local guards, but they may also be international private military contractors. So most of our focus actually is on the international private military contractors, as I mentioned in my speech earlier. And these include, for example, Russia's Wagner Group or Wagner Group. It has now been rebranded as Africa Corps, and it operates currently in Mali, in Central African Republic, Libya, Sudan, but also in other countries where private companies' interests are, and therefore it's not really in, like open information. But we also have other Western private security companies, often UK and US based, that provide risk management, armed escorts for these companies, especially in high risk zones. Now, what I have to mention about these companies is that the UN did a report that highlighted how these companies often operate with little accountability, and therefore there is a higher risk of abuses, whether human rights abuses, that may not be held to account, given that these companies don't operate under some of the norms like the international humanitarian law. Also, some of these companies exchange security services for resource deals, which essentially amount to exploitation of some of the African countries that they are based in. So that's what I have to say about private companies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sellah, for your answer. It's very thoughtful. So if anyone have another question, so we have a question in the chat, okay? Okay, someone asked, could we hear your reflection on the current influence of India and China on the African countries? I think you already mentioned and China, but you can answer the India part. Also, another question. Some news show that alliance of Sahel state welcomes Russia military. Is it real? He asked you about it. Okay, you can answer this and we will see another question after that if the time we have another some time. Shella?
Tariq, was
Yes.
it me?
Yes. We have a two question. To be answered. They need to ask you about reflection. Your reflection on the current influence. Yes, about
That's
India
fine.
and China.
Okay. So first, in terms of military bases for China, the only official military base for China, I think, is located in Djibouti. From about 2017. So China does not have so many military bases in Africa. However, the influence of China on the African continent is more economic than it is security. So most African countries have loans from China and also bilateral arrangements to enhance infrastructure and such contracts. The concern I have about China is the increasing debt that African countries have that may be difficult for them to pay back, especially based on the growing interests. And what would happen when African countries are unable to meet their debt payments? Now, this is a concern because some of the guaranteed, what is it called? The things we use to guarantee loans are our ports, for example, some of the very key infrastructures in those countries. They are the guarantors for those loans. And what this means is if we are unable to pay the loan, then China will take over those key infrastructure resources. So that would be the biggest concern I would have about China. In terms of India, India does not have any foreign military base in Africa, but India participates strongly in peacekeeping missions. So we have Indian contingents, say in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In India does, together with other UN member states, bring its presence in most peacekeeping missions. That's what I would have to say. It has also built several infrastructures in different countries, like in Mauritius, the airstrip, in Madagascar. India has supported communications developments in Seychelles as well, has developed surveillance, radars, supported Seychelles to do that. So I would say that India has been a strategic partner with some of the African countries, and its military presence is limited to UN deployments.
Okay, I think there's a follow-up question about what you're saying. Someone asked, is the French and UK who had the most colonized at the time in Africa, like having so much power anymore? Is that so? He asked about is the power vanished now because the intervention of another power like Russia? And also someone asked the news, he hear some news about the alliance with Sahel, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. They are welcoming the Russia military. He asked, is it real? So if you have a time, please respond on this. Thank you.
Yeah, so a lot is happening on this space on the front of hegemonies or power, of various states in the world right now. On the African continent, in terms of military power, France currently has only 2 permanent military bases in Djibouti and Gabon. Previously, it had some in Senegal, Ivory Coast, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and so on. But these were closed. So we see that the military presence of France in Africa is diminishing. On the political front, and I'm not an expert on this, but we see some countries severing their relationship with France, like Burkina Faso. And therefore, you can say that France may not wield as much power as it did before on the continent if we are just basing it on the military bases and on diplomatic relations with African countries. Again, you can say that Russia's involvement or presence in Africa has increased because we see more countries warming up to Russia, including it or involving it in their capacity development. And of course, it's not just the Sahel countries. We also have Central African Republic, where Russia, the Russian troop is, training the Central African Republic troops as well. So yes, there's increasing presence of Russia and reducing presence of France.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shedla. Thank you. Amazing question. Please, everyone, continue to ask any question in the question and answer and chat box. We are behind the time now. I think we should start with the panel discussion for today. So we want to start. We now begin our panel on understanding the Western imperialism in Africa with Dr. Ferdinand. I hope I say the name correctly. It's the doctor with us now.
Go ahead, Guy.
Okay, not yet. Il n'est pas encore là. On peut passer à quelqu'un d'autre.
Okay. We can take another question to answer until the doctor join us.
I think we can move on to our next speaker while we're waiting for him to join.
I think Dr. Okay. We have another Dr. Jonah, Sophia.
Johanna, you're welcome to unmute.
Yes, here I am.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Dr. Joanna will speak about foreign interventions in Africa. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf actually of Professor Dr. Joseph Disho, who was supposed to be here, and who is held back. Hopefully he will be able to speak a little bit tomorrow. I would just like to add to the interference the aspect not just of the military, which of course, and the education, which of course is taking place, but there's another interference all over Africa and the so-called third world, and that is the pharmaceutical medical intervention and interruption of health on the entire African continent and beyond. Why am I saying that is so important? Because when people are weakened by malnutrition, because the agro industry has taken over so much of the land, and I personally did not grow up in Africa, but I lived and was married in Zimbabwe in the 1980s. So I got to see the takeover of land by the large farming corporations, which in turn provided an impoverished nutrition to the peoples of the country. To give you an example, even 10 years after independence, when I interviewed the Minister of Agriculture in Zimbabwe, he showed me the map of Zimbabwe and said, Johanna, we only have 13%, that's 13% of our own land in our Zimbabwean ownership. So consequently, that means that we cannot even grow our own food for our own people, and therefore health deteriorates, and then the medical industrial complex of the West comes in and gives you vaccinations and gives you medications, all of which are not helpful, all of which further impair the natural immune system. So we can take that aspect of imperialism as an additional interference in the development. So that's the agro industry, of course, with all the chemical fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, then feeding into the malnutrition of the people deprived of their own land, which then provides fertile ground, so to speak, infertile ground for the medical industrial complex to come in and further deteriorate the health of the continent. We had that with the so-called AIDS epidemic, which again was manufactured in the West. Only very few of us have known early how that was done, and the awakening is absolutely crucial because the new means of imperialism include very much those two areas, the agriculture and the medical industrial complex. Now, I cannot speak to the political arena as much as, of course, Professor Dishu would do and hopefully still will do tomorrow. But I can speak to the medical pharmaceutical complex because I had the good fortune to work for an international law firm, and all the big pharmaceutical corporations were our clients. And I translated thousands of documents just because of my language capabilities. So I have the inside scoop on those machinations and would love the world to have more awareness of how that is done. Happy to take questions regarding this as well, and don't want to take up more time. Want to conclude here that I'm grateful for the awareness with regard to the military, of course, interferences. I do want to add one thought, though, that the imperialist concept the wanting to be the hegemon, the wanting to be the sole ruler, invented by the Romans, continued by the British world empire, and then continued by the American, not obvious, but secret services empire, is not the concept that all cultures have as a natural instinct. You know, we Westerners assume that all others also want to be hegemons. And from all I have learned over these last few years, neither Russia nor China nor India have that notion of wanting to be hegemon. So I just wanted to juxtapose that. It's a cultural thing. And because of that cultural thing and those ethics, it was reversely also possible that the tiny country of Great Britain was able to conquer so many other places because none of them had the, I'm going to call it vicious intent toward other human beings. So this is me as a European-born person having had those insights into our own beings, you know, throughout the past 2,000 years.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for letting me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johanna, for sharing your personal background and your insight. Really help us to understand how the foreign intervention in Africa not only shape the challenge our continent faces, but there's another intervention often go beyond the aid, impacting areas like medical industry, and at time Africa is used as unfortunately testing ground for trials or experiments. So your perspective, a new one, we thank you about it to shed the light on this matter. Thank you so much. Maybe the attendants and participant ask any question in the chat. We will continue with Dr. Ferdinand, if he here.
He's not online yet, so let's move on to the next speaker.
Okay, we will go. We have Dr. Obi, Professor Obi, our speakers, speaking about African leader and new colonialism. So, Dr. Obi.
Jane, you can now unmute.
Right, everyone. It's good evening here in Nigeria, and I know it's different time zone in our areas. I have a very key note to speak on, and my topic is on the role of African leaders in new colonization and enslavement of the people. I am Obi Jane, the National Coordinator for Nigerian chapter. Before I start, from my presentation, you say, act now to salvage Africa. And like other speakers have said, Africa is in dire need of a crucial action. Next slide. Okay, Africa in diaspora. Whatever we are talking here is vis-a-vis the more than 50 countries of Africa, colonialism and enslavement. Like other speakers have said, that African continent, we are richly blessed with natural resources and minerals. The wealth of Africa and the population we have, it's enough for us to be the China you're talking about, the Japan you are talking about, the France and US, America, and so forth, even more than them. These are the things that God has given unto us to maximize our growth and development. But unfortunately, bad leadership has really set Africans so much back, deprive us of these natural resources, bring a lot of violences, induce poverty and injustice. Next slide. The historic, next slide, please. Okay, when you look at this, you see it's a historical stuff like that, because it's happened in some 80 and 18 something, 1914 and stuff like that. But get the little history of this, that African continent, whatever we are experiencing now, the so-called civilization we are experiencing now started from colonialism way back 16th century. Yeah, that the Europeans merchandise through Guinea Coast enter Africa in search of precious stones, precious metals, minerals, materials, agricultural materials, including human labor to support their endeavors. So colonialism is a kind of legitimate political and economic instrument that the colonists, the Western, have set to perpetuate abject poverty, making Africa in their own continent, in their own resources, inferior. We have been subordinated. Instead of being the master driving this way, we become the subordinated. We become like a pauper that is following the master. So, in a nutshell, colonists came to Africa in a way to give us civilization, because way back we are in a dark age, like going naked with a kind of stuff like that, ugly looks, and we don't have amenities and stuff like that. So they're looking into say, okay, we have these good things, the natural endowments they are looking for. What can they give us? So a kind of make us like, okay, we are coming to help you. But it's so-called, it's a shadow practice. It's a shadow practice to oppress Africans. It's a shadow practice to exploit us. It's a shadow practice to neglect us, which we are seeing the ripple effects of it. So, in conclusion, I would say the adverse effect of colonialism has kept politically and economically African continent shambles state. Next slide. Yeah, I wouldn't say that colonialism is negative. There's a prospect. Whatever we're enjoying, the little progress, the amenities, set, the investment done, the international operations and stuff was all about negative. No, as a one that is rational, there is a prospect, and we want to look at it because I really need to see that they also help us in some little way. Yes, shedding off our naivety, shedding off some things that we do not know. So politically, the advent of colonialism brought a lot of degree of cooperation, like I said, between the Western and the African. Our traditional institution was also improved to imbibe citizen participation and in politics. It encouraged our people to imbibe dispositions of leadership. So, and also help us in drafting constitution, because way back then, the constitution we operate on, they operate on, sorry, was a different one to what we are operating in our diverse countries. So with them, we could be able to have our own constitution, do policies and stuff like that. So socioeconomic, the advent of colonialism also helped us to set up industries. Yes, we're able to manufacture things on our own. Way back, they take these resources, go back, refine it, and come sell it to us. I know it's still in the process, yes, but it gave us that room to know indigenously how to manufacture things by our own self. Nowadays, most of African countries export these materials. Next slide, please. So I want to dwell much on this place because that is where it's really, really crucial to my topic. How do we get to this neo-colonization and this enslavement of our people? Now, when the colonies departed, there was increase, as they departed due to increase in national opposition because of these oppressive rules. Agitation start coming in. How can you come to my country and I become a slave to you and be answering you, doing a lot of hard labor for you? No, please go. And so the agitation was intense and the colonies left. I just want us to bring this history. I know it's a long one, but for us to retrace the points here. So when they left, most of the Africans who were able to be educated by the Westerner then spring up, begin to man some civil service commissions. We have a ruling class and occupy legislative and executive authorities. So through these indigenous people, the colonies still have influence. Yes, and that is what we are suffering because who trained you dictates what you do, except you have, like my first speaker said, this transformative mindset. When we decolonize our mindset to know that, yes, you trained me, but I have my own say, I have my own take. So these, our indigenous people that were trained, perpetrated a way for these Westerns, right now from then, 90s, 80s, stuff like that, where we are now. So they came in building more roads, establishing free trade zones, markets for easy mobilization of resources. They buy these resources at cheap rates, and they export it, refine it, and sell it back to us. So these guys to what? Enslave us, export our materials, and export it. Next slide. So now I took time in our way to look around, do visibility research, get some opinions, and get into what I'm going to share. Why do we have new colonization? We'll talk about colonies that have left. We have our indigenous people ruling us, manning our affairs, setting up a lot of infrastructure, doing a lot of wonders to progress Africa. I noticed that our leaders, their disposition, their character and behaviors, their trait is what got us to where we are. They permit me to quote this from my religion that said this because it's a holy book and it's a book that is universal, it's living. It says in Matthew 15:4, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. If they be blind, that leads the blind, both shall fall into ditch. Now our leaders, by this quote, perpetrate an act of division. Because of that is what the colonies have handed over to them. Ordinarily, they would have checked this I am handed over. Is it what me doing, or should I transform myself, getting the practice and doing it better? So prior to colonialism, people coexist peacefully. We live a communal lifestyle. But nowadays, it's a total different thing. People mind their businesses. People don't even check on each other. The egocentric nature of our African man and our leaders also caused this. I may not have time to read it vis-a-vis. If there's a time to share the PowerPoint, you can go through. Our leaders have left ruling or leading to a class struggle. Look at the politics arena all over Africa. It's a struggle. Yes, one party struggling with the other party, fighting each other, killings, violence, and stuff like that. So division, egocentric, and class struggle is one of the dispositions our leader has put in the front that is causing this enslavement. All value system, like I've just said, corruption, greed has been in a high rising. within African leaders. Even we the Africans, we are so much greed. We want to accumulate everything to our own self. You don't want to see the other side of your neighbor. You don't even want to share everything myself. Like the first speaker said, you accumulate, you travel outside the same Western country, go to deposits, make investment and stuff like that. And you are perpetuating poverty and other things that has kept our value system off. Now, like the first speaker says, our indigenous, they came give us English, taking our language. Most of us now barely speak our language. So the value system has diminished, corruption is high, egocentric is very high. People are looking for quick way to get money, not in the right way. The ideology of materialism, like I said, people are in quest of materials. Moral value has been declined. I don't know how to put it. So this whole thing has nicked and sabotaged Africa. When the second speaker said Africa is malnourished, it's not all about the nutritional aspect, even in the mental. Our mental state is also malnourished. We don't think right again because of the issues that encompassing. Next slide, please. Like I've just cited, lack of resilience and incompetence. They gave us a shadow training, shadow education, everything not in the right way. They have the right best practices. They call it best practices. And they come, give us that, and the shadow one, and take the right one and heed it so that we keep beckoning on them, running after them for a lot of things. Most of decisions that our leaders take comes from them. Yes, not in the service of the people. Before they take decision, they need to go like IMF or World Bank and stuff like that. It ought not to. In your house as a father or as a mother, you take your decision. So it ought to be that our leaders should take decisions in our own interest, not to explore and control and manage our human and material resources in an exploitative way. Now, the worrisome part of it is this revenge mentality and lack of opportunity. When a leader, a successive leader, occupied leadership position, all is thinking, I want to revenge. I want to deal with this person. I want to deal with that person. That is what you spend for years. I don't know how many tenures of your own here in Nigeria. They have stylishly made it 2-term tenure. That's 16 years. 8 years first tenure, and another 8, it become a statutory. So 16 years, you wouldn't see any visible development. It's about opposition, fighting. So revenge and lack of opportunities is a worrisome state. Our leaders do not have time to coach or mentor young ones. They barricade the young ones from coming to learn. It's a worrisome state, and I know it's everywhere in Africa. Next slide, please. Abject poverty. I have said it. I don't want to talk it because of time. Another worrisome aspect is deaf ear syndrome. You come out of the street, you are crying, you're yawning, and you're saying this is not good. You come to the media, you talk, you do a lot of advocacies. It's not coming to them. It's not their problem. That which they put in their agenda, that which they want to accomplish is what they're after. And that is a worrisome. They are the servants, we are the master. Before they go into the leadership, they know a lot of things they will do for us, and immediately they occupy this position off. They won't even come close to you. You keep running after them, begging for your own rights. It's a worrisome state. So these reinforce inequality, injustice, and marginalization. our leaders, permit me to say this, short-sightedness. Yes, a white man, a Western, can have strategic plan 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, 100 years. Even if he's not there, he has coached and mentored a lot of people to achieve that. It's not way the same with Africa. Altered focus. You have something you want to achieve, you come up and you share it, they will kill it off. They will silence that dream. So it's like we're all daydreaming. I'm sorry in this manner to say it, because beautiful ideas, beautiful agendas, development agendas, beautiful development plans, it's in the shop, it's not done. So this is a worrisome thing, and that has brought self-doubt. People keep asking questions. People feel, are we still African? People feel, what am I even for? I barely eat, like I'm not in good health. I'm not, am I a man or a woman? Am I progressive? So self-doubt is high, frustration is high, it's a daily occurrence in Africa. And that's why I see agitations everywhere, conflict everywhere. That has also resonated to low self-esteem. We feel the Westerns are the superior. They have the money, they have the strength, they have the everything. No, not at all. The same thing we support, they do. They just the way we have bastardized ourselves. We have put ourselves in a very low level, and that is why it's like a caricature, like the first speaker we mimic. It's becoming a caricature of ourselves that the whites see us as a burden. Yes, Africa is a burden. A lot of issues. So please, it's a worrying state. Next slide, please. Where if you get the PowerPoint, you can read it conclusively. African political independence without economic emancipation is absolutely nonsense. Ibezim said this. For us to continually accept this abnormality as a way to go means living in a dark future. If African democracy is not reshaped and transformed to promote growth and development, the region might not actually be independent and continue in perpetuated slavery. Our leaders must understand that the power exercised belongs to the people and must be selfless. To rebuild Africa, all hands must be on deck, and everyone needs to work harder to address these issues. We need to upgrade, transform, and reorient ourselves to fit and operate in the 21st century we are. So these are my recommendations. I think I've taken time. I don't know if I still have much time to run it, but if there's no time, these are my recommendations to the international community. They should provide oversight function, not to influence our decisions and other administrative leadership. No, they should provide an oversight function. Government institutions also should get set up to address citizens' needs and concerns. They should look inward. I know here in Nigeria, way back, a lot of people work to talk about diversification of our natural resources. Most of our leaders concentrate in what gives them quick money. There's other resources untapped. They should look at that. There's need to be a stronger polity. Yes, independent judiciary that is not influenced by our government. Because here in Nigeria, and I know it's the same everywhere, our judiciary has also been enslaved. Yes, decisions, judgments, and stuff like that comes from who dictate the pipe, the president, and so forth. It's a worrisome. So, while a lot of civil society, the media have a great role to play. We are the watchdog of the society. We are the voice of the voiceless. So, civil society, the media should make effort to track and checkmate the governments. I know the pressure and the operations, the victimizations, the maltreatment, but we will not relent we keep working, we keep checkmating, monitoring, following government in dialogue, and giving hope to the hopeless. So the general public also needs to take up this responsibility to participate. I know the government, our leaders, has induced poverty, induced a lot of frustration to withdraw us from participation and withdraw us from giving our voice to issues and concerns. But I urge that the people should wake up to their civic responsibility and vote wisely. These issues, like the first speaker said, is about us not voting wisely. You know, this is a criminal, it's a corrupt person, but because he has the money, he's a money monger, he has the money, you elect him into the system, and so forth. Please, I know I'm taking, my stuff is a bit historical, and I need to delve into it, but I urge all of us, my clarion call, get involved, get engaged, and ask questions. The time to act is now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Jane. I think your points about the African leadership and new colonialism is very, very meaningful. And we grateful for your clear message and strong perspective. I think it's time now to thank all the panelists and the speakers. So we know we can take some questions. So please, if you have any question, English or French, put it in the question and answer box to let the speakers answer. So we have one question from Carol. So for Professor Jane, the question is, what steps should be taken to improve leadership in Africa? Are there lessons to be learned from other post-colonial empire countries? So the floor is yours, Dr. Jane.
Okay, sorry, if you can rephrase, I have a freeze. Can you rephrase? I have a little freeze so that I can
The question is, what the steps should we be taking as an African to improve leadership in Africa, our continent? Or the other question, is there any lessons that we need to take from other post-colonized empire countries to improve ourselves from this lesson? What do you think about this?
Okay, I know my topic and what I presented is in synchronizing with the first speaker. We need to transform our mindset. Honestly, the way Africans think and act is what is expected. At this point, we are already educated in our own way. Yes, I know we were not given the best practice or the best standard of education, yes. But with time, from the independent of all African countries to now, a lot have gone. We have experienced a lot of transformation. We have experienced, we have understood that colonialism was a systemic a way to exploit and enslave Africa. Yes, but do we keep ourselves there? What are we doing? And that's why I said, where is this? Why do we have to perpetrate within our own self, with our own hands, neo-colonization? Our leaders, not the whites now, it's not the Western, it's the African that are perpetrating another level of induced poverty, induced malnutrition, induced killing, induced whatever you can talk about that is negative. So where is the progress? We need to transform this mindset. The first mindset is not transforming or reducing poverty, is our thinking. That enslavement thinking is what we need to come out from that cycle to become looking at our own self, begin to reflect in our strength, begin to harness our resources, begin to work. We have everything. What is our problem? Greed. If you look at my PowerPoint, it's just that I enumerated it and elaborate. It's greed. An African man does not want the other to grow. I'm sorry to use this, but by the virtue of my exposure and interaction and coming in contact with other African countries, I see one problem everywhere: greed, egocentric. So the question is, one, getting yourself transformed first, and like I said, salvage Africa. Do in your little best, create awareness, begin to speak. Don't be afraid. Fear is another thing that is keeping us back. They will victimize me, they will imprison me, they will kill me. There's so many non-violent ways to speak, and people will still listen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Jane. We have two questions asked to you. The second question is about how free are the media in Africa country to take the voice of the people forward. This is a question from Carol. And another question to Professor Jane. In your opinion, do Africa today have a real democracy? Is civil society, CSO, the key role to build African democracy?
I will answer honestly. The civil society and the media was, let me use was, doing well, because they are not government. Get me? They are not government. They do not have strong structure like the government. They do not have this mandate to make policies and other stuff. Get it? But they compromise. They worked with government to achieve their own mandates, vis-a-vis working with the society to address concerned issue. For the media, making things visible, calling attentions over issue. Now, before it was awesome because there was freedom of speech and freedom of information. Because of this disposition of our African leaders, that has been silent. You talk now, you are victimized, you are killed, you are imprisoned, no freedom of speech. So people are afraid. Civil society you can talk about in Africa are those with a lion heart. Yes, quote me. They are with a lion heart. Many are working to address silent issues, not a critical issue that will be a front burner for him or her to be victimized. The media has resolved to be a paycheck. Most of the news everywhere now, except for critical media that damn the consequences, reviewed silent issues that are critical, issues that can reawaken national agitations. Many don't talk about it because they are afraid. Here in Nigeria, let me speak, and I know it's the same. Government has put up a lot of institutions to checkmate the media. You can attest at the time social even media wanted to be closed, if not for the citizens, how do I put it? Clamoring, no, because of the usefulness, it has aided information and stuff. So our leaders do not want to be questioned. They don't want accountability. They don't want you to question them over their actions and policies. They think for you, they do things for you. Even what is your right, they won't even bring it. So civil society, honestly, and media are working perfectly if they can get freedom to operate safely in their own zones and areas. So this is our advocacy area. And we'll tell you much about advocacy and dialogue. But I know with the time, it will be visible because everywhere Africa is beginning to reawaken to see this issue as a very big problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. So you can ask any question to any speakers that spoke today. So the question and answer are in the question and answer box. I think, Greta, if you can summarize any question in the chat box, it will be helpful.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. And I know we only have a few minutes left. And as you said, I think we can open up to all of our speakers at this point, anyone who wants to respond and provide any closing words. But one of the questions that came in was what programs could be taken to schools to decolonize them, and how can World Beyond War support such initiatives? I know that there are several World Beyond War chapters who are already working in schools. I think the Nigeria chapter is one of them, and perhaps Guy could also speak about some of that work in other chapters.
Okay, for Nigeria, catching them young, and not Nigeria anyway, let me say Africa, we should, because for the older ones, one day will be phased out. So catching them young, we should put more effort in going to schools, begin to sensitize and create awareness about this issue to our young ones, because most of them felt it's normal. My daddy told me, I have seen it. Most of them are seeing it in a brutal way. For example, Cameroon now that God has helped and brought peace in a way, a child that were able to see this, what do you want to tell that child about peace or about this? When he's hearing it from the adults, he's seeing it. So a lot of awareness need to be done in schools, programs, activities, in a fun, fair way. Children will begin to be transformed. Recently, we even concluded yesterday, I'll be sharing it with Gitu. In school, we took peace talk, but I have a little issue on, like the first speaker said, curriculum. Because they gave us this, they are influencing it. Anything that we enhance and transform our school system that is opposite to Western dictate, our own indigenous leaders, we shave it off and put it aside and say, no, it's not working. Most of now in Nigeria, there's a time not quite long, a minister says local language should not be used anywhere in school. So I wonder what kind of leaders do we have? A leader that dance and pipe and dine with Western. I am not against that, no. But you should be able to contextualize and localize whatever is given to you as a practice so that it could fit, enhance, and improve the people. So we need to intensify school programs. This is what I have to say. Maybe Guy, you have something to add?
So much.
Could I add? Okay.
You can go, Greta.
I think that was
this is
Sellah.
Sellah.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, just a quick one to add on that. Well, what World Beyond War networks are doing currently in the form of peace clubs, that's also a way in which our education system can embrace, decolonization. Our peace clubs are entities or structures that can be embraced in schools and also out of school. So addressing both formal and informal education. And in these peace clubs, we discuss issues that would enable achievement of peace through nonviolent means, for instance, and how basically students and children can actively participate in enhancing peace in their own society. The second recommendation I would have would be for teachers. World Beyond War has online courses that we run, and these courses are some you can pay for them, and if you're not able to pay for them, someone can actually support you to attend. Teachers, it would really be nice if they can attend these classes, because then they have not just the knowledge on how to incorporate nonviolent mechanisms in their classes, but the courses also provide resources, books, videos, and case studies of how this is being done in different parts of the world. And so our students can benefit from such knowledge if teachers are better equipped. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila, for this amazing answer. And I want, before we finish, a huge thank you to our Inspire speakers for day one of the African conference, and huge thanks to the amazing organizer like Greta and Gay, and of course thank you to all of you being part of today. It's really inspiring. I want to mention a short thing is tomorrow we will dive into more exciting talk, discussion and ideas. So please come ready to be inspired. So I will give the floor to Gay or Greta to say some words. And thank you so much.
See, we're not hearing Guy.
Ok. Merci beaucoup, Tariq, pour la modération de cette session.
Thank you very much,
Et je
Tariq,
voudrais
for
également
moderating this
remercier tout le
session.
monde qui a participé à cette
Thank you, everyone, for
conférence,
participating in this event.
et des intervenants qui ont pu partager leurs expériences et leurs
We say
connaissances.
thank you to our
Donc,
different
nous avons ainsi
speakers.
terminé la première journée. La deuxième journée, c'est
We
demain
have
à
ended the
15
first
heures,
day of our
c'est-à-dire
conference,
15 heures GMT. Donc,
and tomorrow we are going to start
vous allez
at 3
pouvoir vous
p.m.
connecter
GMT.
demain en utilisant le même lien que celui d'aujourd'hui.
And tomorrow you can
Demain,
connect
nous
using the
allons
same link that we sent
parler
prior.
notamment du panafricanisme et les expressions du sentiment anti-occidental en Afrique. Nous aurons
Tomorrow we are going to speak
professeur
about Pan-Africanism
de
and
l'Afrique qui va
how we can express
participer.
our feelings
Et
concerning
comme aujourd'hui le format c'est en
anti-colonial
ligne, nous aurons également un
stuffs.
panel d'échange avec
And
trois autres
tomorrow we are going to
intervenants
have
pour
a panel
donner un
discussion.
aperçu des luttes actuelles pour la libération de l'Afrique de l'impérialisme occidental. Nous parlerons également des expériences et des modèles
Tomorrow we
de
are still going to
solidarité
speak about
internationale et de
imperialism.
collaboration équitable avec
We are
l'Occident.
going to talk about
S'il y a le soutien
solidarity and
et le
international
soutien
equitability.
des États-Unis pour l'Afrique qui a été réduite, nous allons aborder cela également,
We are going
notamment
to
la
talk about
situation du
the
programme
US
d'aide
aid for
qui vient
Africa, which
provenir
was
des
reduced.
États-Unis. Question de voir quelles sont les solutions alternatives en
And
Afrique
what are
pour
the alternative
gagner
solutions
la
that they are
souveraineté
providing
des
for this
Africains, la
situation?
liberté et l'indépendance des Africains. Et pour terminer, nous allons avoir une petite réflexion sur
For
ce
us
que
to end
pense
tomorrow, we are
Beyond
going to
War, la
do small
perspective de
reflection.
Beyond War sur l'impérialisme. Donc,
We are going to
c'est
listen to
un
the
aperçu de ce que nous
perspective
allons
of
voir
World Beyond War on
demain avec
imperialism.
d'autres sujets qui vont intervenir pour notre échange de demain. Donc, je vous souhaite à tous une bonne soirée pour ceux qui sont
Thank you all, and I wish you all
dans la
good
zone
evening.
comme la mienne. Une bonne journée à tout le monde, une bonne nuit et je compte vous revoir aussi nombreux
Good day to
que possible en
everyone.
ligne. Merci.
Good day, good night to everyone, depending on your time zone. See you tomorrow.